A 23-year-old man with the rest of his life ahead of him suddenly went on a violent rampage last week and has unfortunately hurt and killed many. We don't know where he is right now, but what we do know is that he is armed and dangerous. This is the case of Peter Manfredonia. Hey everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today's video is going to be on the ongoing case of Peter Manfredonia. Before I go into it, just my regular disclaimer, I'm reporting on very public news that anyone has access to. The opinions stated are mine unless I've said otherwise, and all of my sources are listed below like always. Okay, now let's get into the case. Peter Manfredonia is 23 years old and is a student in engineering and business at the University of Connecticut, where he was a senior. He was also currently working as a bouncer and a doorman at a club, and he was a local of the Connecticut area, having grown up in Newton his whole life. It was said that Peter was currently living off campus in an apartment by himself and that he was struggling with many mental health issues. His parents said that he was currently trying to get help from them and a therapist at the time. A high school teacher of his also confirmed this history with mental health issues and said that Peter was suffering from schizophrenia, as she thought, and he was also really obsessed with Adam Lanza, who is the man that committed the horrible acts at Sandy Hook. Now, a really weird turn of events is that Manfredonia actually grew up down the street from Lanza. I believe it was only a couple houses down from him, and actually knew him growing up. So I think that this might explain the fascination with him, or at least be part of it. Several students that he went to school with at UConn have been interviewed after the fact about him and said that he appeared to be mentally unstable and that the school authorities as well as local police were aware that he was mentally unbalanced and did consider him a threat. However, there wasn't much they could do just based on this knowledge if he hadn't done anything wrong, which is really sad to think that maybe they would have been able to prevent this had they known. His, mental instability just ran so deep. Speaking of Manfredonia's unstable mental state and people possibly knowing about it, some photos have been circulated through some news sources, although I haven't been able to confirm that these are 100% Manfredonia's room, that show his walls in his dorm room when he lived on campus last year. Now, these walls are covered with writings, and supposedly his roommate from the year before is the one who took these photos and circulated them. Now, these writings are very disturbing. I'll put them on the screen here so you guys can see, but it basically says, "See what happens when I snap," and it also talks about Adam Lanza, who we discussed earlier, who his teacher said he was obsessed with, and this definitely follows. The fact that he has it written all over his walls shows that he really was obsessed with this crime, which is very disturbing. He also talks about a comic character named Thanos on his wall, and I did some research, and apparently this character destroyed the universe, which again is very violent and very disturbing and kind of ominous considering, what he goes on to do. Now to get to the horrible acts that Peter Manfredonia would go on to commit. So all of this began at 9:01 a.m. this past Friday when a disturbance was called in to Connecticut State Police, and they arrived to Myrtle Road in Willington, Connecticut. Police arrived to a very disturbing sight. It was very gory, and unfortunately 2 elderly men had been hurt very badly, one of which is named Ted Demers, and he was 62 years old, and unfortunately, he was declared dead upon the scene. The other man has not been named, but is in the hospital for critical injuries, but he is said to not be in life-threatening condition, so it is said that he will survive. After coming upon this horrible crime scene, police were very quick to try to find out who the perpetrator was because, there was a very violent person out there and they needed to find them sooner than later. So they interviewed the neighbors as well as the man who was injured, and they were able to identify the perpetrator as Peter Manfredonia. And they said that he was actually in the area looking for a girl that he had been stalking and harassing, and her family actually said that they were thinking about getting a restraining order from him because, he had been harassing this girl so badly, and it is thought that he was in this neighborhood to find her and possibly do harm to her. However, Peter did not end up finding this girl for one reason or another, and his motorcycle broke down in her neighborhood. So he was just walking along the street, and Ted Demers saw him, and he offered him a ride on his four-wheeler to get back to his motorcycle because it had broken down. Out of the goodness of his heart, he offered the stranger a ride, and for no reason whatsoever, Peter attacked this man with a sharp weapon. And when people heard the commotion that was going on, an elderly neighbor came out to try to help Ted, seeing he was in distress, and unfortunately, he was critically injured as well. With all of this commotion going on, yet another neighbor came out to try to help, and at this point, Peter got scared away and took off on his motorcycle. After arriving at this horrible crime scene, like I said, police were able to identify Peter Manfredonia pretty quickly as the person who had done this crime, and so they sent out his photos to all kinds of media outlets as well as other police officers so that they could be on the lookout for him, as they didn't know where he was going. And this would begin the manhunt that is still going on to this day. Unfortunately, the violence does not end there, and Manfredonia broke into someone's house on that same night on Friday and held someone captive. And he didn't let them go until Sunday morning, when he actually left their house, stealing their guns, food, and that person's car. However, they were left unharmed. That same morning that he left his hostage's house and stole his car, he actually crashed that car in Derby, Connecticut, which is where he would seek out his next victim, named Nicholas Isley, I believe is how you pronounce it, but if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I'm very sorry, but I'm just going to refer to him as Nicholas. So he went to Nicholas's house in Derby and actually ended up killing him, which is very sad and horrible, considering that it said that the two of them were friends. So I don't know why he would do such a horrible thing to someone that he considered a friend. But either way, he ended up actually kidnapping his girlfriend as well and forcing her to drive him out of the state. Fortunately, however, Nicholas's girlfriend, which Manfredonia kidnapped, was found safe at 11:30 a.m. that same day at a rest stop in Paterson, New Jersey, along with her 2016 Jetta, which means that she was left safe and unharmed, and for one reason or another, Manfredonia decided not to hurt her and let her go. I'm not sure exactly why he chose to do this, but I'm very happy that she's safe, and I hope she's reunited with her family right now. As for Manfredonia, we know that that same afternoon after he had left Nicholas's girlfriend at the rest stop, that he ended up taking an Uber to a Walmart in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And there's actually footage of him behind this Walmart, which I'm sure many of you have seen. He's walking along the train tracks, and we're not sure why he's in the area, but this just confirms that he had gone that direction. Now, after this picture was released of Manfredonia walking along the train tracks, police remained very tight-lipped and actually didn't give any more clues on his whereabouts until Tuesday, when they said that a black Hyundai Santa Fe was stolen at Monday night at around 9 p.m. And they said that Manfredonia could have been the person who stole this vehicle, although they weren't positively sure. And they said that he could be possibly on the run with this vehicle, so to be on the lookout for him. This hunch about Manfredonia possibly stealing the black Hyundai Santa Fe actually ended up being true. And on Wednesday of this week, police released that they had found this black Hyundai Santa Fe in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And they had also found footage of Manfredonia in this area. He was seen on footage at a gas station called Sheetz. Now, this footage shows him there possibly buying something, and it looks like he has changed up his clothing, possibly trying to disguise himself so that he won't be recognized. Where Manfredonia went from there, however, is still a mystery. We do know that he took an Uber to Hagerstown, Maryland, and police have confirmed this detail. However, they don't know if he's still in that area or if he's gone somewhere else completely. At this point, it's pretty much anyone's guess. His family is pleading for him to give himself up peacefully and for there not to be any more violence or confrontation, especially not with the police. Police have said that he could be living out in the wilderness because he does have guns with him, or, he did steal that food from the person he held captive's house in Connecticut. so he could be living off of that. However, at some point, he does have to go out into civilization, to get more supplies because, he's going to run out of food at some point. I feel like at that point, people will recognize him and he'll be turned in. This is a really sad case, and I feel so bad for the families of the victims. This just completely came out of the blue, and especially with everything going on in the world, this is the last thing we need right now. People have been talking a lot about his mental health and trying to use it as an excuse for his actions, but I find this completely absurd. There's so many wonderful people who struggle with mental health issues in this country who do not go on to commit horrible crimes or aren't even violent at all. Actually, more than not, they aren't violent and they're merely just struggling with their own issues. And I feel like the mental health issue should completely be ripped out of discussion when talking about Manfredonia's case. Yes, he did struggle with mental health, but no, that's not an excuse or a reason to hurt anyone. Peter Manfredonia is 6'4" and 240 pounds, so he's a very large guy. He has brown hair and he's white. And as you've seen throughout the video, I've put his photo up so you might be able to identify him. Police are saying if you see him, do not talk to him, do not engage with him, and immediately call 911. He is armed and dangerous, and engaging with him could put yourself or others in harm's way. I really hope that police find him soon so that no more senseless violence can continue to happen. I'm not sure if they have any idea where he's going, and if they do, I guarantee you they won't release it to the public and risk this investigation. I feel like they might know where he's trying to get to. They know the general area that he's around, and I'm sure they've already done their research to see if there's someone he knows in that area or someone he might want to see. Pure speculation, I'm thinking that he might be trying to get to someone because it does seem like he's trying to get to the Maryland, around New Jersey area. So I feel like maybe there is someone there that he's trying to find, just like why he was in that neighborhood when he ended up attacking those people. He was there to find that girl, it is said. So I think it's possible that maybe it's the same scenario and he is trying to find someone. But again, this is just speculation and no one has confirmed this. Although Manfredonia's last known whereabouts were in the Maryland area, he could be anywhere right now. So anyone living in the East Coast watching this, please be safe. Lock your doors, and if you see anything suspicious or anyone who looks like the man in these photos, call police right away. I'm trying to remain hopeful, however, because the FBI and a bunch of other law enforcement agencies are looking for him, and he can only stay hidden for so long, and someone's bound to recognize him and turn him in so that these families of the victims can get justice. That's all I have for you guys today, though. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please stay safe out there, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more true crime videos. Thank you so much. Bye.